Hey everyone, I'm Anouk Savineau. I'm a water resources engineer at LimnoTech and project manager for LimnoTech's work on the Lake Accotink study. I work alongside Craig and others at LimnoTech to help the county and stakeholders understand how sediment from Long Branch and Accotink Creek are transported into Lake Accotink, and then how those sediments settle out into the lake, or how they are transported over the dam and into Accotink Creek downstream of the lake. After our field visit, we provided that information to our engineers, and they used this to build a computer model of the creeks and lake. And that model allows us to estimate the flow of water and the movement of the sediment throughout Lake Accotink.
Hi all, I'm Craig Taylor with LimnoTech. I'm an engineer and a restoration specialist, but mostly I'm just a guy who loves water. You may remember me and some of my colleagues from LimnoTech when we worked on the task force about a year and a half ago. And at that time we were pulled in to be a third party and answer some of the questions that were coming up at the time and talk about what the future of the lake could look like. Since then, our work has continued as we started to investigate sediment transport within the lake itself and through the lake. That work really started with a field visit that we conducted last year. We were looking at sediment sizes in particular. We worked our way about 2 miles upstream of the lake into Accotink Creek and Long Branch. We also worked our way about 2 miles downstream of the lake. And there we were directly measuring sediment sizes with a ruler. And then we were also collecting samples to send in for lab analysis. Once we understand the sediment characteristics in the creek, we then need to understand the water forces in the creek. We can kind of think of these as two forces acting against each other, right? The sediment, through friction, is trying not to move, and the water provides a hydraulic force that's trying to move the sediments, and those two forces are working against each other in a balance, so to say. So we look at this using a computer model and the USGS gauges that are on site, and those help us understand the relationship between water depth and discharge or flow in the creek. And from there we can get velocities, we can get shear stress, and ultimately the sediment transport rates for the ranges of sediment sizes that we're seeing on site. Then moving downstream, we also want to understand how sediment is moving into and through the lake. And this starts with a bathymetric survey. So we're utilizing survey data that was previously collected and will be collected by some of the other project partners. So in this image that we're showing on the screen here, the dark blues are kind of the deepest parts of the lake. And then the yellows are the shallower or upland portions of the lake. Once we have that set up, we can feed water into the lake using a 2D model. And that will establish circulation patterns. We're looking at velocities here. So the red is the high speed water, the fast moving water. The blue is the slow water where things will tend to settle out. Once we have that understood, we can look at the sediment deposits that are in the lake and compare those deposition patterns to what we're seeing in the model to confirm that they're accurate. So that is the next step that we're working towards with the new round of sediment sampling that's coming and bathymetric data that's coming. We can really dial that in, make sure that our model is predicting reality fairly well. And then from there, we'll continue working with the county and the teaming partners to understand and model potential design alternatives for the lake to understand how those different alternatives could perform into the future.
Now, it's going to take us a bit longer to fine tune the model, but once that's done, we'll be able to apply the model to evaluate different restoration options for Lake Accotink. And that will help inform the stakeholders and county in imagining the future of Lake Accotink.